just trying to shine the spotlight for what good work the dharmic organizations are doing across North America and what we can learn from them. So it would not just be limited to mandirs, it would be any other organization that is doing phenomenal work, and we are here to build the camaraderie, the network, and this is one of the new series that we have started. It's going to be year round. Once a month, we'll be bringing something like this. And what a better way to start with a temple that is very close to my heart. So we will be having Sri Shajiv Jagannathan, who is the president of Hindu Society of Minnesota, talk about the programs of the temple. Before we start all of this, we will have our um, little volunteer here, Vinny Vasani, who will be, starting off with the prayer. And Vinny beta, all yours.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि बुद्धिर् भवतु मे सदा गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः हरि ओम्
Thank you so much, Vinny beta, for that wonderful auspicious beginning for this spotlight series. Before we get into the actual program, there's just for few of you who are new to this, wanted to give a highlight on what HMEC is all about. You may have heard it sometimes, and you may not know what it is all about. It is Hindu Mandir Empowerment Council, and just want to give you uh, uh, idea of what it is all about. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we are good.
Yes, we are good.
So this is initiative by VHP America, Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, that was started in 2006. And just recently in September, we conducted 18th conference in Dallas, and over 800 temples across North America are have partnered with us, at some given point in time. But we do have connections and network of 800 temples across the country. And we also have a program called Hindu Mandir Priest Conference, that is also called HMPC, which is a forum for Hindu priests. And we, during our HMEC conferences, we will be giving, Archaka Bhushana Award, Archaka Shri Award, and we recognize the services that these priests render not just to the temple, to the communities, but to all of us who have called America home away from home. We also have, extensive in educational, initiatives. We have Viva Sanskar books. We have, Antyeshti Sanskar books, and we are in a process of getting many, more in depth into insights into all this Sodasha Upakara, the samskaras that we have, and so on and so forth. So there are many educational initiatives as well. And one of the prime focus for many years has been now the security, the safety and the security of our congregations, of our temples. And we do have workshops available year round, where we train mandir executives on how to apply the grants and so on and so forth. So this is just in a nutshell of what work we have been doing for last 18 years. um, so and so forth. Give me 1 minute, I may have lost my presentation. Okay. So, as I said, we do have, during the recent Rath Yatra, which was in 2024, we did have an in-person visit to all the 800 temples. And I think we are trying to build positive narratives of, Hindu symbols, and we are trying to help temples when they are faced with Hindu phobic attacks. To answer more, or give more insights on that, I would request Tejal Shahji to come and talk about her recent visit to California, and what she has done with meeting with the temples there. Tejal ji, to you.
Namaste everyone. Thank you Vallabhaji for a brief overview of HMEC. Uh, Recently, after the 18th HMEC, uh, during our festival season, we have come to learn about the mandirs, at least 5 mandirs being vandalized in California Bay Area. This is not new for California Bay Area because in after COVID time in 2022-2023 time frame, also we had at around 9 mandirs were vandalized, or the robbery or theft has happened. Some kind of incident which is considered uh, unlawful or upsetting our sentiments and our shraddha for our place of worships, and for that reason, when I was on a pravas for the Bay Area, I thought that it's a good idea to meet those members of mandirs who were impacted and talk to them and see what we can do. And while I was there, actually, just 1 day before we entered into Bay Area from Sacramento, there is a mandir named Vaishnav Parivar of Bay Area Vaishnav Parivar of Youth. So that particular mandir got vandalized, and robbery happened in that mandir again. And the executive that was supposed to come and meet us, he had to run to the mandir, and he could not come and attend one of the public function that was organized for all the mandirs to come together. So then my visit and my meeting with mandir representatives or the mandir executives and leadership team become even more evident that this is, we need to definitely come up together and come up with a plan that would let us allow to get more attention from the law enforcement. Because wherever I go or I talk, I would hear that we have registered the complaint with the law enforcement. We have talked with the local mayor. They would come, they would talk to us, they would express their sympathy, they would say that what we will do whatever we can, but nothing solid has been done. In some of the cases, the mandir security video system would show even the number plate of the vehicle when the theft has happened. And this particular time, the 5 mandirs and the plus this one mandir that was just vandalized 10 days, like in the last week, in last 10 days, that particular mandir, they were saying that it's just 3 people, team of 3. The woman would come inside, and then they have all the tools. Even in some cases, like if the hundi is tightened up with the floor with the bolt and nut or any other support, they would come and cut it and just take the hundi away, and in 3 minutes before the alarm would run, or the any of the police would get notified, they would just run away and disappear from the nearby vicinity of mandir. So they are very clever. They are very much, I think, working plan ahead, kind of like I think they know what they are doing, from where to enter, what to do, and then where exactly the hundi. And I don't know how they are collecting all this information. But if the enforcement or the township would work with our mandirs little bit closely, then I'm sure something can be easily found around this theft and robberies, and then our mandirs can be saved from the hard-earned money of each individual devotee who is putting their shraddha into that hundi, correct? So I basically visited at least 5 mandirs this time. Swaminarayan Vasna Sanstha, this Vaishnav Parivar Mandir, then also a couple of other mandirs, Gajanan Maharaj Mandir. And then I talked to the representatives, and we are coming up with a plan, what can be done, what should be done. And of course, physical safety and security is important. We all need that implemented. But then when some of the mandirs are in the shopping complex, they have certain mandate how they would have their entrance put the safety guards against and all that. So I think they are doing all they can. So in some cases, car would just come and bump into the glass door of the entrance, and that's how they would enter into the mandir. So all these little things are telling us that if we get more attention from the township mayor or the law enforcement police officers, etc., definitely better results or the better outcomes can be made available to our mandirs. So I'm working closely with HMEC team, Niyati ji, Vallabha ji, and of course all the mandirs. And we are thinking that we need to put a letter together, have it co-signed properly by all the area mandirs where the mandirs are being impacted, and at least send that out. We need to create our own paper trail. Whether they keep their paper trail or not doesn't matter. We need to go after them and force them to come on the table and talk to us. So I think that's the plan right now. And my appeal to all the mandirs: don't shy out or don't be afraid to speak up when such things happen at your mandir, because it is our right, and we are to protect our place of worships. We cannot just let such theft or robbery happen at our mandir. So please don't shy out. Please don't keep the matter only up to you. At least reach out to us. We are available. We will talk to you. We will figure it out what can be done together as a community. And the right answer will come to us at some point in time. Thank you, Vallabhaji, for giving me time to share the updates
No, thank you,
from
Tejaji.
my
That's a very
visit.
important update that you have given to the rest of the community, and you have taken time of your personal time, your personal time to
It's my
go and
duty.
visit the temples, which is a big thing. I mean, visiting all the impacted temples in the Bay Area. There is also an update on what work HMEC is doing in terms of the Texas incidents that you are all seeing. We will be keeping you all posted in coming months. It's a work in progress. We have reached out and we are working closely with the Texas Mandirs. So that will be something that the HMEC community has to look out for the months to come. So thank you. And without further ado, I will switch the spotlight on several people here. Of course, to start with, on Shajiv Jagannathan. Um Replace spotlight. Before our Shajiv starts his presentation, Shajiv, we have the other leadership team of HSMN on board. So if you don't mind, I'll quickly introduce them to the rest of the HMEC community, and then, take it from there. So,
Please do.
Ganesh, if you can start the, yeah. Okay, Now can I add to the spotlight? Okay. This is Ganesh Ram. He is the chairperson of Hindu Society of Minnesota. Hello, Ganesh.
Hello, namaste, Ganesh Ram, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad you called me. I rushed and joined this, and I'm very happy I did that. And Tejalji, namaste. I mean, we are able to relate to exactly what you said, and you will hear more from our brave president, and we can all work together. We need to join hands to your point and have everybody come to the table with us, and we need to take point. Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you.
GP, if you can start the video, I can add you to the thing. If not, I can't put you on a spotlight if your video is not on. So adding Suresh, he is the vice president. Mr. Suresh Tekot is the vice president of Hindu Society of Minnesota. And hello, welcome, Suresh.
Yeah, hi. My humble pranam to all of you.
Yeah.
So I am the vice president right now, and I will be taking charge by 2026. I will be uh, taking responsibility from our Sajeev. I have been in close contact with Sajeev, learning about HMEC and how the conference went last time he was there. So I would like to have more collaboration with you all.
Yes.
And unfortunately, today I have another meeting to go to, so I will be dropping off after my introduction.
No worries at all. No
Yeah.
worries. Completely understandable. Adding the vice chair, Purna Guram, to this as well. Hello, GP.
Can you
Yeah, we can hear you. We can
hear
hear
me
you.
okay?
Yes, we can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, namaste everyone. I'm Purnaguram and I'm the current vice chairman, and I will be taking over as chairperson role come January 1st, from Ganesh. Yes, we did experience what Tejalji said, and we are here to collaborate with HMEC, and as she said, it is if we all come together, and administrations also will listen to us instead
Yes.
of going one off. So let us know what kind of help or collaboration you would need from us, and we are here happy to work together. Thank you. Namaste.
Wonderful. Thank you, GP, and thank you all for joining. And the floor is yours, Shajiv.
Thank you, Vallabha and Tejulji. Nice to see you again. I think after Dallas, seeing each other, so it's always nice. I've always enjoyed a great partnership and a great relationship with HMEC. I think the work you guys do is critical in this day and age, as as Sanatanis continue to grow in numbers and serve our communities here in the United States, as Vallabha you said, home away from home. The work that you guys do at HMEC is critical, bringing together. I've always said that a temple is more than a place of spirituality, it's a place where community gathers. And people need that. People need a space of belonging. People need a space to gather. People need a space to find connection. And a temple serves as a critical aspect of that. And HMAC serves as bringing all these temples together, right? And that's why I've always enjoyed a great relationship with you and talked in depth to the next president who will take over after me, Suresh, about the necessity to continue this partnership going into the future. I'll address Tejuji, I think your point about vandalisms and theft. I'm tracking all those. I'll cover some of the things that we've done on our side. I can very confidently say that our temple is leading the way in a lot of those things. And I'm also more confident enough to say that no one's going to touch our temple. Period. That's just not going to happen. We've done so much laying the groundwork to ensure that that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, that they are held accountable within 24 to 48 hours. And it has happened. Two times that it happened, all suspects were arrested and we recovered our items within 48 hours. We've done such a great job of just ensuring that. And I'll talk through that. And all that to say, Tejalji and Vallabha, even though I'll be transitioning out as president, I'm happy to assist in any way, shape, or form going into 2026. 26 is an election year. Temples are hot targets. Not just temples, Jewish synagogues, churches, Buddhist temples, all are hot targets. Any religious establishment is a hot target. And I like to say temples are sitting ducks because we always build in faraway places, right? Because of land, and that makes it a hot target. And so going into 2026, it's an election year, and I anticipate that temples will be hot targets. And whatever we can do to help, drawing from the experiences that I've helped build here at HSMN nationally, happy to talk through that. So anyway, let's jump right in to the topic here. And first of all, Vallabha, thank you for spotlighting HSMN. When you called and said, I want you to do this presentation to talk about Hindu Mandir of Minnesota, what we do, our successes, our history, and showcase what I have been talking about at HMEC for the last two times to a broader online audience. Thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can build upon this and learn more from each other. So I will share my screen. There we go. All right. Need someone to confirm that they are able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right. So my name is Sajeev Jagannathan, as Vallabha said. I'm the president of the Hindu Society of Minnesota. And so talk a little bit about our history, right? As was requested. So our history, I tried to find some of the old photographs. I did find them, but I didn't have enough time to put them on here. But let's talk about, the history of the mandir. And I said something earlier that mandirs are a community gathering spot, right? It's where community gathers. That's the intention of the mandir, and that's how it started back in the 1970s. So back in the 1970s, in the early 1970s, when there was an influx of Indian migration, high-skilled migration from India to Minnesota, this was a time period when the state of Minnesota had a massive shortage of dentists. And so what they did is they worked with the State Department and had some expedited visas for high-skilled dentists from India who fly to Minnesota and practice dentistry, right? So that caused a massive influx of dentists coming into Minnesota. In fact, statistically, we have more Indian dentists in Minnesota than anywhere else in the United States. And it's funny because their children's children are all dentists now. So it's kind of like that, it's a historical thing. So if you go back to history, right, 1970s, there was a massive influx of dentists coming into Minnesota, and there was a very slow migration of Indian high-skilled labor, moving into Minnesota because Minnesota is also a medical alley. It is the medical hub or the cradle of med tech in the United States of America. So anything to do with medical technology, electrical engineering, mechatronic engineering, electronic engineering, Minnesota is the hub. So it was an attraction. So a lot of Indians started moving here, Hindus started moving here at that point. And one thing that happens is when you have about 100 or 150 families, everyone needs what I said earlier, a place to gather, a place to pray. So in the 1970s, people would gather in their homes and perform rituals and perform pujas. So one thing led to another. In 1978, the Hindu Society of Minnesota was registered as an organization, a nonprofit. No building, no temple, but it was registered as a nonprofit. And back then, the IRS did not recognize Hinduism as a religion. So for us to get a nonprofit tax exempt status, the IRS declined it. In fact, they requested for additional information because they called Hinduism not a religion in 1978. So back then in the 1970s, our founding fathers and founding founders worked to draft an entire document to defend why Hinduism is a religion, paving the way for Hinduism to become a 501c3 nonprofit status back in the 1970s. So we've done so many great things, including convincing the IRS that Hinduism is a religion. So back in 1978, the Hindu Society of Minnesota was formed, right? From that, now again, going back to history, right? Back in the 1970s, there's a big influx of, again, Hindus moving into Minnesota because I talked about high-skilled migration, electronic engineering, mechatronic engineering, doctors, all that. So there comes a need to have a space. So in 1979, February 2nd, we purchased a church, which is on the top right corner here, this photograph over here. It's called the Polk Street Church. So we purchased the church and converted the church into a temple. so that people can gather and pray. Now, if I fast forward from 1979 to now, it is still a church. So after we purchased it as a church, converted it into a mandir, once we were done and we have our space now, we sold it. It became a Sai Baba mandir. And then the Sai Baba mandir ended up selling it to a Brazilian church. So it's now a Brazilian church. So it went from a church to a mandir to a mandir to a church. It's still there, still exists. So many fond memories for so many people who know that particular church as a temple from the 1970s. So now let's fast forward from, okay, we had our little church, hundreds, 200, 300-ish families are now moving to Minnesota. But very slowly, community is growing. And I always say this to anybody I meet. A temple or a synagogue or a Buddhist temple, a church is like a magnet. You can draw a perimeter around it and a community builds around it, right? And so that's exactly what started happening. More and more and more and more and more and more people moving in and we're trying to stay within that close perimeter to a place of worship. So there comes a need for something much bigger. So back in the 1990s, our visionary founders decided, okay, we have to build something and we have to build a historic temple. Hence is born the Hindu Society of Minnesota. So in June 2006, we inaugurated a 43,000 square foot Maple Grove Mandir. Back then, the largest temple in North America. Today is the fourth largest temple, which includes a sunlit prayer room, 21 shrines, one of its kind on the planet, 450-seat auditorium, 250-seat dining hall, commercial kitchen, conference room, meditation room, and much, much more. We even worked with Master Stapati Padma Shri Muttaya Stapati for the actual design of the temple. And if you visit Minnesota, please visit the temple because I always say that our temple has a divine vibration when you walk through it. In the way it's built, in the way it's structured, in the way it is today. Again, like I said, it's the fourth largest temple. We serve over 3,000. If you click the number of people who walk through our doors every single day, so over 3,000 devotees a month. On busier days, it's even more. There's a total of 60,000 Hindus in Minnesota that we serve in total. And every weekend, we serve close to 600 meals, Saturday, Sunday combined. And on some days, it's over 2,000 meals if you have a large event. It's a big operation. It's a big temple. So think about our history from the 1970s to fast forwarding to where we are now and the necessity to have something this big, right? And one of the most iconic things about our temple is the Varadaraja Murti in our temple, which is modeled after the 1,500-year-old Kanchipuram temple in India. And in fact, the Murti is, I believe, and I think GP might have to correct me here. I think it's like the Kanchipuram, the Varadaraja Murti we have is only about 2 feet shorter than the actual Kanchipuram temple in India. Because again, right, this temple with its 21 mini temples is a way to bring together everyone from northeast, southwest, right? I love the fact that we're able to, again, going back to my original point, provide a space for community to gather, right? Whether you're from the northeast, southwest, we have a space for everyone. And it's one of the rarest things. And another really rare thing is we have a Jain temple inside of our temple. Again, a place for people to gather, right? So going back from the 70s to where we are now. Vallabha said that I have to show this little video clip of our temple just to show you the space. So I have it here. In the next slide, I'll just play the clip. It's just a short clip that shows the temple, the grandeur of our mandir. So I will just go ahead and I will play that now. I'll probably fast forward through because I don't want to spend too much time on the video, but it's a little clip. Hopefully you all enjoy the.
Is there a music with this, Shaji? I can't.
Sorry?
Is there a music with this, or is it?
Yeah, is it playing or not playing?
No, no, we can just see the images. We can't hear
Oh,
them.
I don't know why it's not playing. Uh, Maybe it's cutting out the audio from it.
Maybe you had to share it with
So
the
why don't I just, I
sound.
mean, we can share the video later on. Why don't I just forward through it? People
Yeah,
get a chance to see it. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we'll share the video. There's a beautiful music as well that goes there. You can enjoy the trip. It's only about a 1 minute and 30-second clip, but just to showcase the grandeur of our mandir, as Vallabha requested, must play this video. So there you go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about about so I'm going to cover a variety of categories, right? So I'll start with, obviously, we are a temple. So let's start about with religious services and spiritual impact, right? So yeah, as I said, we have 21 mini temples that represent northeast, southwest of India. So we bring all these different spiritual rituals to our temple. So it is always bustling. There's not a single day of the week that you can go to the temple and there's something not happening, right? There's always something happening. Of course, we have all of our flagship rituals from Shivaratri to Janmashtami to Ganesh Chaturthi to Onam, Navaratri. We have our flagship events. So last year we did something called Chardham. Then we had our Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha celebrations. We every time there is always something going on. And again, I draw back to that number. There's over 60,000 Hindus. Everyone has different needs. We try our best to serve all these people, all of these different needs. Um, this year, of course, we added new pitams, including for Lord Murugan and Ayappa, and again providing that pan-India representation. And one of the things that I think we're really proud of is just the fact that given that we are the fourth largest temple in North America, and at the rate that we're operating, I think that our priests do a fantastic job of catering to a variety of needs, right? As I said before, it is about bringing people together, and we've done such a fantastic job of bringing so many people together. Our annual flagship events, we're so creative with what we do. So next year we're celebrating our 20th year as a temple, right? Every year is our annual flagship event, and last year we did this thing called Char Dham. We brought the whole Char Dham um, yeah, to India, to Minnesota, right? Which was incredible, to bring that entire experience here. Our chief priest flew to India and brought back so many things, and we were able to make such a fantastic experience. And people felt that they had a spiritual awakening after coming to our Chardham last year. And this year we had a Brahmotsavam, and next year I know our new team is planning an incredibly big annual event. So again, right, I'm so proud of all the success that we've had from that standpoint. So let's talk a little bit about our cultural activities. Again, if you take the temple, as I said before, it's a space to gather. So people gather for a variety of reasons, right? There's the spiritual reason, there's the cultural reason, and there's several other reasons. So culture is something that we invest heavily on in terms of our cultural outreach and our cultural activities. So whether it's hosting our flagship holy events, our flagship Diwali events. I don't think Navaratri, Onam, and Pongal belong here, but it's somehow here. We host an annual Diwali festival that's a pretty large festival. We bring together a big group of people. It's a big concert, big show. It's a big flagship event. And this year we actually completely reset the concept of how we do Diwali. We did what's called a Diwali Mela. It was wonderful. It felt like you're going to a full Mela experience with vendors and talent performances and food, and it just felt nice. People got a great experience. We had over 2,000, 1,500 people who showed up. And so we do off-campus Diwali events. So Midtown Global Markets and one entity that we work with in the past. We've also done high school Diwali events. The Clearwater High School, we hosted a Diwali event there. So we do a lot of these things where, from a cultural standpoint, it's a way for us to not just spread the culture, but give people a opportunity to experience the culture and have fun. Whether it's throwing holy colors or Diwali, right? We've done such a fantastic job of just spreading awareness. We're welcome. Doors are open. Anyone can come. And if you can't come to us, we'll come to you. right? That's the whole point of taking Diwali to a high school or Diwali to a global market, right? So now let's talk about youth engagement. I know this is a topic Vallabha really wanted me to cover, so I'll spend a little bit more time on this one because I think we've had a tremendously successful youth engagement ecosystem, and I've talked about this at length at many HMECs and talked to so many temple leadership around the country about some of the successes we've had. So the first thing I'm going to start with is our athletics program. So we do have a temple athletics program for our youth. We have cricket. Our badminton tournament is actually next week. We have chess. We had a volleyball tournament. Then we have pickleball coming up. So we have at least five different sports that we do throughout the year, and they're all youth driven, youth done. We have an athletics director at the temple, and that's a role we created, right? Because we saw the need for it. So we created an athletics director and an athletics program for it, and we fund it. So Ganeshji, our chairman, and myself, whenever we go into annual budget season, we're very intentional to make sure that we fund this athletics program because it's a necessity. And we're seeing so many more youth being involved in the temple, and because of them, their parents are coming, right? So it's one thing leads to another. It's like the domino effect, right? So our athletics program has been a fantastic success. I see this year we had our first ever cricket sixes tournament, 192 players for cricket alone. So yeah, the fact that we're doing things like this is exciting. Now, why did we start an athletics program? I actually modeled it after YMCA, right? I mean, why did YMCA form? Young Men's Christian Association. Why did that form as a sporting or athletics entity, right? Because it's a way to bond. So of course, many years ago, in the Christianity side, right, the YMCA turned out to be an opportunity for young men at the time, at least, to bond. So what do you bond on? Sports, athletics, going to the gym, things like that. So it made an opportunity. Of course, now it has been rebranded to the Y, but the idea is there. That was the intent behind it. And that's how I was like, hey, let's try this, and it's a huge success, and I believe we'll continue to do so. Next thing we launched for kids is our TED Talk series. So we call it Visionary Voices. We bring a variety of speakers. Our first speaker was a colonel in the Air Force, who kicked off our first ever Visionary Voices series to talk about seva, service, dharma, but in his own context. Of course, he's not going to refer to it as dharma, but he talked about service, and that is dharma. So we bring a variety of speakers. We also have an online version of it. We call it our Flames of Enlightenment podcast series, where we interview many leaders from our own community and the successes they've had, so we can inspire the next generation and inspire kids, right? We've built several strong partnerships. So the University of Minnesota, we have a strong partnership with the University of Minnesota. I'm sure you guys have heard of the organization Hindu Yuva. So there's a Hindu Yuva chapter at the University of Minnesota that we work with, the Hindu Student Association of Minnesota. We work with all these different entities. Why do we work with them? Well, for volunteers sometimes, whenever we need volunteering help, kids are able to come. We pay for their transport. If we need to send them a bus, we send them a bus. But it's a way for us to reduce the barrier for kids to come to the temple. One of the point I made earlier, right? Temples are always built in far off places because of land. The disadvantage to that is if you have kids who want to come from college or high school, they don't drive, they don't have cars, they're kids. So how do you transport them? So we started saying, okay, fine, let's rent a bus. We started renting a bus and shuttling kids in and out safely. And so we've built several partnerships with the University of Minnesota. In fact, the University of Minnesota hosts an annual Navaratri event on campus. And so to make it feasible for them, we send a priest and we send everything they need to conduct a Navaratri ritual on campus, right? Because again, I'm sure there is a cost to it, but it transcends cost in the sense that we're building that partnership, building that camaraderie with kids, and kids have a reason. And automatically, next day they email and say, "Hey, can I sign up for volunteering?" Or something happens where this the magic happens after that. So University of Minnesota is one. The big one is, of course, our internship program. So we have, last I checked, we have about 47 interns in our program. And it's a nationally recognized program at this point. We are also a PVSA certified organization, Presidential Volunteer Service Award organization. So every year we hand out awards straight from the White House to our kids, right? Because we are a PVSA certifying organization, which we were certified last year, we built the internship program on top of it. And when I say internship, I'm not saying kids are just coming and sitting at the front desk. No, they're doing finance, marketing, artificial intelligence programming, or machine learning programming. They're doing IT internships. They're doing communications internships, my athletics team internships. The video you saw earlier was an intern. My podcast series, everything is driven by interns. In fact, interns outnumber our board members at this point. So 47 to around 30-ish volunteers. So they outnumber us. So the youth are outnumbering us at this point at our temple. And that's a great success. And I've always said, see, I always say, what's your success metric, right? How do you measure success? Is it numbers? Is it a percentage? Is it a growth rate? What's the delta, right? For youth, there is one success metric, and this has always been my metric. The minute they stop saying the mandir and say my mandir, that's your success metric. That has always been my driving force. And the more I hear kids say my mandir, and they are proud, I'll say, hey guys, I need some help with this. Yeah, we'll do it. It's for my mandir. They're proud, they're happy. And when something happens to our mandir, I don't have to do anything. They step up, they do it. In fact, this Saturday I have, since it's my last year as president, we're hosting a intern lunch, right? And we take them out for lunches, we take them out for bowling, we do fun stuff because again, they're kids. But at the same time, when it comes to work, 10 hours a week, we have a very strong internship program. We have a internship steering committee. We have an internship program manager, an internship associate program manager. Again, like I said, a steering committee, a hiring process, a firing process, an onboarding process. Everything is in place. Everything is in place, and we've had tremendous success. It's literally running on autopilot at this point. Almost requires no oversight from me at this point. It has taken off. Then we launched what's called a junior executive program. So one of the feedback we got from the kids is, okay, great, I'm an intern, I do some good stuff, but I need a pathway to leadership, right? How do I want to serve on the board? How do I get on the executive committee? How do I become a trustee? So we created a pathway program. So you can go from intern, get promoted to junior executive, then get promoted to, serve as a co-chair on a board seat, on a board position, co-chair, and maybe futuristically you can become a chair. So it's like a pathway program for kids to transition from one level to another, to another, to another. And they feel, like, oh, I got a promotion at work kind of a thing, right? The kids love that. And, they're always asking me, when do I get a promotion? Right. And so we have a full process for how that whole thing works. And, there's a lot of steps that have to happen. In fact, we get 6 to 7 applications a day to join our internship program, 6 to 7, and we only pick like one. We had to increase the threshold so much. In fact, I require them to write a 1,200 word essay for why you want to join HSMN internship program, and define why you want to join a Hindu Society of Minnesota internship program. And if the essay is written in ChatGPT, will catch it and you'll be automatically disqualified as well. So we have so many different measures in place to catch these things, but kids are writing their essays. They write the essays, they apply 6 to 7 internship applications a day. It shows the fact that kids really want it. So our athletics program, our Visionary Voices program, partnerships with universities and high schools, our junior executives program, our internship program, and of course, youth is embedded. Like I said, youth is embedded into every single area of our temple. And then lastly, I want to cover. I know it's one bullet point that I can double click and expand for hours. Is HATS. So HATS is Hindu American Temple School. So
Sajiv,
all of you.
Sajiv, on the hat support bit, Shripad highlight TEC.
So sorry.
We have the youngest guy, the TEC.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Sorry, you're right. You're right. That's a really good point. I forgot about that. So one of the interesting things that happened, and Ganesh ji, thanks for pointing that out, is I told you how kids are, so excited about, promotions and all these things. So one of these interns who started with me 2020, 24, he was really good. He joined as my intern for our volunteer program, as an associate program manager for volunteer programs. Did a fantastic job. He actually got us the presidential volunteer certifying certificate. Then he built our internship automation program so that we can automate how we volunteer automation program. So we built what's called our VMS, volunteer management system, so that we can manage how volunteers come, number of hours, who's tracking, all that stuff. And then this year, out of nowhere, he said, I want to become a trustee of the temple. And as of last month, he's the youngest trustee in our 40 plus year history, 18-year-old Sripad. And so Ganeshji and I were so proud, Ganeshji, chairman of the temple, and me, to be there and induct the youngest trustee ever. And he was then he didn't stop there. He said, I want to serve on the trustee board. So he's actually taking over next year as the PR chair of the trustee board of the TEC, Trustee Executive Council. Again, the youth are again. My point is, as long as they say my mandir, you win. That's the winning point. That is your winning metric. So last bullet point I'll hit, and thanks for that, Ganesh. I completely forgot about that. Is hats. So I can double click on this, and you can expand for days on this, but I'll give you a high level summary. So hats is Hindu American Temple School. All of you are temple leaders. You all have your own versions of an education system, Sanatanic education system that you have, Sunday school as we call it, right? So we have our own. Of course, our curriculum is nationally recognized. Our curriculum is used in North Carolina, and several other states. At this point, we're expanding our curriculum because why reinvent the wheel when we have a world-class curriculum here? We have over close to about 150 to 200 kids who sign up every year for our classes. Classes can range from religious studies to language, many others, every Sunday, 33 weeks a year. And again, kids are, we have so many parents registering every year. There's like a wait list. And we have hats assembly, hats graduation, hats scholarships. That hats brand itself is its own thing. And I'll cover a little bit later, but we've begun to realize that we just are running out of space for kids now that we have to build at this point. So I'll cover that a little bit later, but I just wanted to, Ballava really wanted me to cover the youth engagement aspect of this for other temples to learn. So again, high level summary, our athletics program, visionary voices, our TED Talk series, partnerships with universities and high schools, our nationally accredited, nationally recognized internship program, a junior executives program, and hats. So let's talk about outreach. This is another thing Vallabha really wanted me to touch on as well. I'm blessed to have a wonderful outreach chair. Actually, it helps when you have a great team, right? So we have a really high functioning outreach team, driven by three interns and one outreach chair. And I mean, one of the ideas they came up with last year is, hey, let's bring yoga back to where it belongs, right? And said, okay, we should do international yoga day at the temple, and they said, okay, let's take it a step up. And Vallabha, thanks for helping push that through. He said, no, let's take it a step up and do yoga at the state capitol in front of the capitol grounds. So that with the photo at the bottom right corner there is 100 plus people performing yoga in the state capitol in front of the capitol grounds, right? That's part of our outreach initiatives. So we've hosted our International Yoga Day. We do a lot of interfaith activities. We've hosted interfaith conferences at our temple. Last year, we hosted the MNMN, Minnesota Multi Faith Network, at our temple, where we hosted a variety of different faith organizations. They usually host this at a church, but I was able to negotiate it down to our temple. So we had that. We've partnered with Red Cross to have blood drives. We've had outreach concerts. We've hosted Sanjay Subramaniam. This was last month. So we've done so much from an outreach standpoint. In fact, right now we're working on a food drive for with Seva International, and we're also working on raising funds for those who lost SNAP benefits. So we've, from an outreach standpoint, right, we are really on par and doing so much in terms of engaging people, engaging the youth, and engaging people in a variety of different ways. I go back to my original point. A temple is a community gathering space, and you have to give them a reason to gather, whether it's spiritually or culturally, or whether it's youth, or whether it's outreach, right? Some people are just passionate about help. Great. Here's an opportunity. Come engage. Government relations. This is something that our temple has been doing quite a bit over the last, I'll say, 2 years ish, where we've been really building out our government relations and external relations arm. This ties into what Tejalji was talking about earlier, right? We've hosted our governor many times. We've literally last 2 weeks ago hosted the lieutenant governor of the temple to view our new construction site. I will talk about the Diwali Day proclamation that we have. So we've done a lot of work in terms of engaging with the government. So if you see the top right corner, the two photos, that's Ganeshji, myself, and President Biden. We were invited to the White House last year to attend President Biden's Diwali event, the only temple in the nation to attend that particular event. And so we were very proud to represent the Hindu Society of Minnesota there. And so when people walked up to us and asked, what organization are you from? We said, we're from a temple. People are shocked. Okay, wow. The fact that we get invited, right? That shows the level of reach that we've managed to do. And on top of that, we are very, very involved with the state legislature, with the state government. So we actually had two bills passed with stamped by the Hindu Society of Minnesota. Bill number one is the Religious Freedom Act. So the Religious Freedom Act was passed. Religious Freedom Protection Act was passed in 2024, and Hindu Society of Minnesota lobbied for it to happen and worked very closely with the state government to make that happen. And the Religious Freedom Act basically protects temples from lawsuits. So from frivolous lawsuits that can come our way. So we are basically immune to lawsuits at this point. And the Hindu Society of Minnesota was one of many entities that made sure that happens. Second, this year we passed the Security Fund Act, which established a $1 million pool for temples, places of worship in Minnesota, to seek funding grants for security initiatives only in Minnesota. There is a national pool, which Vallabha talked about earlier from a grant standpoint. That's the Department of Homeland Security grant. This is a state of Minnesota grant. So what I did is I talked to several lawmakers and said, hey, the national pool is too competitive. It's a $140 million pool, 200,000 plus applicants. It's hard to get money. Let's establish a state fund. Let's establish a 0.003% of the state budget, 1 million, right? Because what our GDP is 396 billion. So 0.001% of the state budget. Establish that as a fund and make a monetary entity, and let's make grants, 20K grants. Let's make it happen. So we did a lot of lobbying. We went to committee hearings, spoke at committee hearings, and actually got that bill passed this year. So there's a $1 million pool that we created in the state. This is for perpetuity until the next governor or whoever comes and changes it. For perpetuity, there will be a $1 million pool in the biennium state budget to ensure that temples are protected. So this goes back to what Tejalji talked about earlier. We continuously engage with a lot of state legislatures. If you kind of check my schedule, I'm mostly spending half my time at the temple, half my time at the Capitol, right? But the intent there is to build relationships, build partnerships so that on a rainy day, something happens, we can pull that string, right? I talked about the White House. We have close relationships with the Department of Homeland Security. In fact, I, as president, I get monthly intel briefings from the Department of Homeland Security on high risk alerts. So we have built an entire security mechanism with the Department of Homeland Security. You see the picture at the bottom left corner is the picture of the FBI and the FBI to build out our entire security mechanism. So what does that mean? Within the United States' intelligence gathering system, there is something called a fusion center. Every state has a fusion center. A fusion center is like an intelligence bureau for the state, right? There's a Minnesota fusion center, the Virginia fusion center, the New York fusion center, the California fusion, everyone has a fusion center. The fusion center was created post 9/11 by George Bush as a way to concatenate intel in one place so that all agencies can get data from one place. So I tapped into the fusion center and said, how do I get a risk analysis for our temple? So what that means is, if I'm hosting Diwali or I'm hosting Sankranti, I'm hosting Ganesh Chaturthi, and I know I'm going to get 1,500 people, I need to know if Intel is showing that we are at a heightened rate of risk or not, so that I can choose how much security I get for the day, whether I'm booking off-duty police officers or whether I'm booking actual police officers or whether I'm booking armed guards for that day. It determines based on the risk level. So whenever something happens, the Fusion Center is the first to call me, and I get an intel briefing from them and say, yeah, the intel is showing there's heightened chatter for a potential vandalism incident at your temple or a potential attack at your temple. So then we immediately kick, I don't want to talk through the protocols, but we immediately kick off one of our protocols. And we have, just like when you go to the airport, you will see a sign that says, threat orange, right? We have something similar where we modeled it after that with the Department of Homeland Security, so that when we get an intel briefing that shows something is about to happen, we kick the next few steps of what happens at the temple. That again, I don't want to dive too much into the details of that, but it could be things like passive security and active security. Passive security is certain doors are locked at a certain time, certain doors are unlocked. There will be a security guard placed here, security guard placed there. It really depends on the rate of the risk. So we've done such a good job of establishing this partnership with the Fusion Center that anytime we're doing it every month, pretty much every month at this point, I do get a briefing from the Fusion Center at this point that tells me as president what's going to happen. Then we have established our own security chair on the board. I work with the security chair at that point and then make a decision on what is the next step. Okay, we have Brahmotsam coming up. We're expecting 3,000 people. I was just informed that we have a heightened risk of threat. What steps do we take? So it helps us make and navigate those steps in a way that we can protect, key thing, protecting the devotees. We can protect our devotees, right? Because if people don't feel safe, they will not come to the temple. So we show that. I mean, we have level 1, level 2, level 3 security. Level 3 is armed guards, people with guns who stand at the door. And depending on the level of threat, we tweak what do we need for the day. On days we have kids, there is always an armed guards because we have hats classes and there are children there. And parents leave their children and they go shopping. If something happens to a child, the temple is liable. So we make sure we have armed guards present when children are here. Active shooter situation, tornado drills, we work through all this. We are training, our priests are trained on active shooter situations, our priests are trained for tornado drills. We have an annual biannual training program. We've built all these into the existing workflow to ensure that it's not a matter of if, but it is a matter of when. And when something happens, how do we react to it? Right? So building these partnerships with state legislatures, state government, with the governor comes to our temple so much at this point, it's his second home. The lieutenant governor so much, it's their second home. We've built these partnerships. That is why I said earlier, touching our temple is not an easy thing to do at this point, right? Building that, making it an entity that is at its level has made it such that, law enforcement partners, if anything happens, it's one text message away from texting the chief of police. And uh, just last year, we had a robbery happen. I texted the chief of police. They sent an entire SWAT team to the temple. There were 16 squad cars that came to the temple. And within 48 hours, all the suspects were arrested and all of the stolen items were returned to the temple. 48 hours. That's a record. And then the prosecution took over after that. All right. Building these connections, building these networks. And we donate to the police fund every year. That's something we are proud of doing. We donate to the police retirement fund. Because again, it's a give and take, right? We have to show some good faith too, right? So we do donate to the police retirement fund, and that builds that bridge and that connection. That's one. Next, certainly the last point, again, I want to talk about what is the value of building these partnerships. So for the first time in the state's 50-year history, the state has a celebration that happens every year called the CAPM Leadership Celebration. The governor, every politician, all 111 senators and 273 state representatives attend that event. And they usually start that event with a Christian prayer. In 50-year history, for the first time, it started with a Hindu prayer. So we made that happen, right? Um, Building those partnerships, building those relationships, keeping those warm. It's not just about taking a selfie and saying I took a selfie with a senator. Nobody cares. Build the relationship so that you gain something from it, right? And this is an example of where we truly show the flag. I mean, when our chief priest Murliji went up in front and conducted, I told him, please translate, right? Once you perform your prayer, please translate. And people loved that. And the fact that 50-year history, it has never happened, but it happened, shows the steps that we've been taking towards building those partnerships and really taking the flag up. The Diwali Day proclamation is what I talked about earlier. So we did get a Diwali observance day in Minnesota. This is possible because of our relationships with the government, and this is actually now possible. We got it. This is the proclamation on the right-hand corner that you can see. So it's made last year. It was October 31st. So that's what you see on the right corner. You can see here, this was our White House delegation, where we were invited to the White House, and we were specifically invited to talk about how a Hindu temple was able to build all these partnerships. And so that was something I was very proud of. And lastly, I believe this is my last slide, strategic partnerships. I talk about partnerships. So there's the government partnerships I talked about. Now let's talk about strategic partnerships that we have built over the years. And one of the biggest and most strategic partnerships is HMEC. I'll highlight that at all times, because if we can work with HMEC, we can work with every other temple on the planet at this point, right? That's the nexus point. So when you talk about strategic partnerships, being with HMEC, working with HMEC is one critical partnership. Number two, we were one of the first few temples to sign a historic memorandum of understanding with the Hindu University of America (HUA) to launch the Bhagavad Gita summer camp at our temple, and build upon that to launch our new series going into next year, like Ayurvedic cooking and all kinds of things. So we are using their existing platform to help funnel that to our temple using our MOU. Another thing that we're doing, and this is kind of a big vision idea, right? Is I talked about hats earlier, kids coming and learning our courses. So the HUA University has 3 credit courses, 6 credit courses, 9 credit courses. You can take them in Bhagavad Gita and all kinds of different things. So if our kids can complete a certain percentage of the coursework at hats, can that transfer as a 2 credit towards a 6 credit course at HUA, right? That gives them an enticing reason to go from HATS to HUA and transfer that 6 credits to a community college or a school because it will become an accredited credit. So that's the big vision that we've been working on, right? And I'm so happy. I've been working with the president of HUA, Kalyan Vishwanathan ji, and I think we're cracking this. We're getting really close to getting something like that happen. So partnerships with HMEC, partnerships with HUA, partnership with the Council of Asian Pacific Minnesotans, what I talked about earlier. Lastly, our partnership with MIA. So you might think, what does a Hindu temple have to do with the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, right? Um, we like to think outside the box. Well, the Minneapolis Institute of Art has one of the world's most unique and renowned collections of art. And one of the things they have is a fantastic collection of murtis from South Indian, in fact, Vallabha. And I was just there for a Vishnu statue called what was it called, Vallabha? I forget the name of the statue.
Reclining pose.
The reclining Vishnu, that's right. From Angkor Wat in Indonesia, right? One of the things I worked with them on is I said, hey, you guys have a family day where kids gather in your place. Can we do a workshop where we have a Shilpi on site, where our Shilpi can come there and teach how to carve, and they loved the idea, right? And we actually made the collaboration happen. And that photo you see on the second bottom there is that happening. Actually, our Shilpi and my EC secretary there went and hosted a class on Hindu architecture and actually taught kids how to carve using clay. We built that partnership, and that has led to so many different things with the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Always, we've done such a good job of building partnerships and working with all these different entities. So HMEC, HUA, Minneapolis Institute of Art, and then of course I talked a lot about building partnerships with law enforcement entities. We've always been about building partnerships because that leads to something that you will need eventually at some point, right? It's for that rainy day. So with that, I will rest my case. Thank you, Vallabha.
Thank you, Shajiv, for that wonderful um, presentation and highlighting what Hindu Society of Minnesota does. Anybody has any question? Because I know this material very well and I've seen it, but I just wanted to make sure anybody here has any question for Shajiv.
Yeah.
We are a little over time, but I think
Well, Labaji, no, Madhu Hebar here.
uh-huh.
I'm surprised that I mean, of course, I had no idea of all the things that Chajivji mentioned, but it is super impressive. I mean, having a 18-year-old and board of trustees, I think your next target should be a second generation who would be a priest in the temple.
Tatastu
Already, right?
to that. We will
Already.
probably have that. That's a good idea, Madhuji. We will do that.
Actually,
Madhuji,
Vallabhaji,
yeah,
we do have,
We do have, yeah.
I
very
know.
young
Look on
priests.
That is
FaceApp.
why I said, give us 2 to 5 years. We will be having that. We have a pipeline ready. Tejalji, you had something?
no, I was just going to say, Madhuji, during the Ram Rath Yatra, several temples have demonstrated a very young priests the capability at their mandirs, especially high school or the middle schoolers, and that is definitely coming from the family heritage. From they are learning from their fathers and grandfathers, whoever they are close to. But it was a very, 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 I would say, a wonderful experience to have see them chanting the
Yeah.
puja shlokas and all
And
that.
then Tejalji, I'm not talking about. I know many of such people, but I want
Second
somebody
generation born and brought
who
gifted.
is a full-time priest in the
Yes.
temple who is second generation.
And
Yeah.
yes, I think one or two mandirs we have even seen that too. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
think
No.
at Minnesota Mandir, definitely there is somebody whom I know getting ready for that.
That's true. That's true. We will keep the cards very close to our chest
Yeah,
at this point.
don't disclose it till it happens. But yeah,
Yep.
but
Exactly, exactly.
fantastic,
But we do
fantastic.
we do we do have Danesh Budramji also on this call, who is
Correct.
also a great promise. He does a fantastic job conducting and maintaining his father's temple in Florida. So this is what HMEC is all about. This is what we are all about, Madhuji, where we
Ganesh, I
come.
think Ganesh, I saw him in Dallas. No?
No,
In the HMEC conference?
Yeah, Dhanesh was there. Dhanesh
Ganesh
was
was
Yeah.
there.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I
No,
heard Ganesh. And
he was in the same car with me when we were traveling to the
yes,
temple. I mean, I heard his story on the way. Okay.
yes,
Glad,
yes,
glad.
yes,
You know,
yes, yeah.
I would have recognized if I had seen the picture, but yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions
I
from
have a
any?
simple question.
Yeah.
Uh, After hearing all this from him, it
Hmm.
seems that from California I should move to Minnesota.
See, there you go,
And second,
Sureshji.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
But
really impressive. It's
yeah.
like some of the best.
Any other? If not, then we'll close this session. This has been a fantastic start for our newly series that we have introduced, Dharma Spotlight series. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you liked it, please ask more people to join and understand how other temples are doing across the country. So with that, we'll start the closing prayer. Tejalji, do you want to help us close the session?
Sure.
Closing prayer?
Let's do the Shanti mantra.
Yeah.
Om Sarve
Sarve
Bhavantu
bhavantu
Sukhinah.
sukhinah.
Sarve
Sarve
Santu
santu
Niramayah.
niramaya.
Sarve
Sarve
Bhadrani
bhadrani
Pashyantu.
pashyantu.
Ma
Ma
Kashchit
kaschid
Dukha Bhag
dukha bhag
Bhave.
bhave.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
shanti.
Harihi Om. Shubhratri.
Shubhratri. Thank you all for
Shubhratri.
joining.
Thank you.
Shubhratri. Namaste.
Thank you. Spread the words more about the program. That's
Thank
the appeal.
thank you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.